It's the Full Court Press with Eric Franson and Jason Walker.
Welcome back to the to the show that we're doing right now.
Following the local teams, breaking down the biggest games with in-depth analysis and team interviews.
There's going to be much higher expectations, sense of awareness of what we bring to the table.
Join the show by calling into 435-752-1069 or text 435-339-0321. It's the Full Court Press.
Rose, answer. Yes! Caught! Touchdown! They did it!
We did it again.
Nice. We're here talking to each other and letting the music play. We're here. Eric Franson, Jason Walker. And not enough bump music. We need to extend the bumper.
It's like a whole minute and a half. The thing is, I used to listen to the Dan Patrick show. Like, if you measure from like the time their show like actually starts into the time where they actually start talking sports, it's like 4 minutes with all the intro stuff they go through and just nuts. They don't actually get going until like 4 minutes. Of course, for us, it's almost 3 minutes, but 1 minute of that is top of the hour. Here's what you need to know. So it's only sort of.
Well, see, I can't spring questions on you as we're nearing the start of the show. I need to start that a lot earlier during the break.
In fairness, I did step out to go call somebody during the break, so I didn't have the entire break to do that.
435-339-0321 if you want to chime in on the show today. We've been talking about Utah State at Nevada. Big road test for USU. Another Quad 1 game. Aggies didn't fare well in their previous Quad 1 game on the road. Will this one be any different? Tomorrow night, pregame coverage on KVNU, 102.1 FM, 610 AM. That'll begin at 8, and tip-off will be at 9 on FS1. And then as soon as the game is over, turn on your radio, pull up your mobile app, talk to Alexa, have her pull up KVNU, and hear the post-game show with Al and John Russell and take your comments and your phone calls about what happened there. But this is an interesting matchup. Utah State is going on the road as the underdog, as Nevada is favored by 1.5. We heard from Stephen Ashworth last hour, a little bit from Ryan Odom. We'll hear more from Coach Ryan Odom later on this hour. But if you want to chime in, 435-339-0321 and 24009 texted in just before the top of the hour. I hate to see Ryland not be able to play, but with 3 serious concussions, I'm afraid it's about time that the coaches protect him from himself.
And that's certainly the worry is if he suffered another concussion, then that's a career-ending possibility. And that is the big worry because when you remember David Woodward in football, like he had concussion problems. He had his final one, and that ended his career basically. Didn't get drafted. He was the guy who could have gotten drafted maybe.
Yeah.
At least made a camp, but I don't think he even ever made a roster. It was just done.
Yeah.
That was it.
He had to end football. Not just end the season, he had to end football.
Yeah, and so and in basketball it's no different. It's not the same violent contact sport, but you don't play around with that kind of injury.
No. Well, and kind of in the news, can't think of his name. Player I believe he played for San Francisco, the 49ers. Just passed away here, I think today. Now his name, I'll have to look it up. But he's like 64 years old, and he was in assisted living because he had dementia. And it's because of all the head trauma. And in an era that it was just go back in. Don't take time for your brain. Get some smelling salts. Can you see the number that I'm holding in front of you? How many fingers? Go back in.
Yeah, you got your bell rung, and that was it. So, that's basically. And I started playing football like right around the time where they were beginning to at least pay attention to concussions. But even still, I was transitioning from the more archaic just bell rung into, okay, we have actual concussion protocol that you have to follow. Like, you had to take in the preseason, they have you do a memory test. And then if they think you get a concussion, they make you do that again and compare it to your own results. And it's like, 'cause that's something they started to do.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, yeah, we should maybe take this thing seriously so that if a 16-year-old gets a concussion, maybe we don't throw him back out there and risk serious actual trauma to what is at that point still an undeveloped brain.
Right. Yeah, and it's a story in the NFL right now, too, with Tua Tagovailoa. How soon does he come back this season, or does he?
Yeah, and
he's had a couple of shots.
That was scary as heck because the one concussion, he was exhibiting serious symptoms where I forget all the different technical terms, but it's where, his hands are all, jacked up, where the nerves are violently reacting to the brain trauma. Luckily, it didn't turn out to be quite as serious, I think, as what the worries were, but still, it was scary.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's with Rylan, I think that's something that they have to be very careful with and cautious of. Now, they haven't officially said he's in a concussion protocol. The national broadcast said that he is.
Yeah.
But is that something they've inferred? Because the coaches haven't disclosed that publicly. But Rylan did have one that they did disclose earlier this year and has taken a few more shots to the head since then this season. So I think they have to be very, very careful with how they proceed.
Yeah, it's the speculation that he has a concussion. And that's what we're working on, is our speculation of we saw what we saw, but obviously nothing's been confirmed.
9315 with a score prediction for tomorrow night. I think we will win 84-71.
That's a bold prediction.
That's bold. I think Nevada's a little better defensive team. I don't know that Utah State can put 84 on them. But I also think Nevada's a pretty solid team at home. I mean, they haven't lost a home game this year. So I think they'll be a pretty tough team to beat. I like USU to win, but I think it'll be a close battle. And I'd say Aggies by – I think I'd be comfortable saying Aggies by 4, which means it's a close game and it's free throws or something like that determines the final outcome.
Yeah, the most likely margins of victory for Utah State are going to be in the 1 to 6 range. Anything beyond that means you beat them pretty handily. If it's a 7-8-9, that you'd have beaten them handily, but maybe they draw close with the last couple of possessions. Otherwise, yeah, it's gonna be a close one because when you're on the road, you don't beat good teams on the road by a lot. It doesn't happen very often. I know we just talked about what Boise State did to UNLV, but that's an exception. You don't do that unless you just had basically a perfect game. That's about the only way that happens. So, and you have a perfect game, and the other team has their worst game. That's about the only way that happens. So, sure, is it possible for Utah State to win by 13 or more? Yeah, but it means they had a really good game, especially offensively, because Nevada will slow it down a bit more. They play 4 or 5 possessions fewer on average than Utah State, so they're going to slow it down a little bit. Which means Utah State still could put up tons of points, but they'd have to be hyper efficient on those. It's like with Air Force. They scored 77 points in that game. If they'd been on their regular pace, Utah State would have scored like 88. So it was still a really good offensive game, but the point total was lower because of number of possessions. That's why if Utah State wins like 77-71, that's a solid game, even if it's not 84 points. So I'd predict a lower score, partly because it's on the road, partly because Nevada plays slower. A good score for Utah State. If they score about 75 points, that's what you're targeting.
Yeah.
And then obviously, just don't let Nevada score more than that. That's the basis of the game. Hard-hitting analysis. But yeah, just have a good enough offensive game to get into the mid-70s and high 70s. And that's probably enough to win you this game. Because as good as Nevada is, it might be trickier for them to get into those high 70s. Especially as Utah State's playing better defense of late. With the obvious exception of Boise State. They held Fresno State, Air Force, and Wyoming pretty low.
Yeah, I think the over-under on this game is 144.5. I think I'd probably still take the over. But I would say, because I'm thinking 75-71 is a score I'd be comfortable with. It could easily be 67-62, but I think 75-71 is probably a score I'd be comfortable with in this game.
I'd be more inclined to take the over because it's possible, both these teams are a little stronger on offense than they are on defense. You're more likely, because some games they just happen to go into the 80s, because both teams just have a hot offensive night. This game is more likely to finish with both teams in the 80s than it is with both teams in the 60s.
But it's another tough challenge on the road for USU, and Coach Odom has some things he wants to see from his team when they go back out on the road. Because when they were in Boise, they struggled, and certainly they play well at home. But when you're away, that can be tough. So, what does Coach Odom want to see from his team when they hit back out on the road again tomorrow night?
It's tough on the road, in the Mountain West and in most conferences. And for us, what do we want to see? We want to see the discipline. We want to see the execution. We want to see the composure. We want to see the physicality.
Yeah, so defense has to travel because your shot can take a bit to fall when you're in a different shooting gym or surroundings, but defense can always travel. And really, it was the defense that helped spark Utah State against Wyoming earlier this week, and that's got to be a key again tomorrow night.
Yeah, and Utah State's defense is incredibly important, not just because defense itself is incredibly important. It's very important to a transition-based offense or a team that likes to run in transition and is good at it, like Utah State is, where you need to get stops to get out in transition. And so defense is not only able to, for any team, defense is going to provide you with some momentum. If you shut a team down 6 straight possessions, there's some momentum you can build for your offense. You can sometimes get these 10-0 runs if your offense is able to react. But for Utah State, not only does it build momentum for their offense, but it directly feeds into their offense. It's not just a mental thing. It's an actual strategic thing of getting out and running once you've gotten the stop and gotten the rebound. So it's really, really important for Utah State to play good defense because aside from the obvious don't let your team score, it leads to points for Utah State, or at least it leads to more efficient opportunities for Utah State. And that's so much of what, strategizing for, teams is for our offense is finding the best shots. The most times you can get those good shots. That's the point, is more often than not, have a good shot. For Utah State, getting in transition gives them more chances at an efficient shot. And on average, that'll get you, a good offensive game.
One of the other efficient shots is just standing at the free throw line undefended, and this is something that Nevada apparently does a pretty good job of getting to the free throw line. So Utah State has to play stout defense, but not going over the top or too aggressive where they just gift Nevada opportunities. And this is something that they do a pretty good job of, apparently, is it getting to the free throw line, and that can be a concern.
Yeah,
and they get there a lot.
They get there a lot, and they shoot it really, really well from the free throw line, so you cannot foul them.
Are they're a bunch of drivers then to get that?
They just have physical bodies, and so they'll post and they run actions to get the ball in there, and they.
I don't know if that cut off early. I feel like
that seems like that's an interesting cut, but yes, physical bodies.
Throw them into the bus.
Yeah.
Well, it was my fault if I didn't cut it early. The general point there, obviously. Physical driver, they play physical so they can draw fouls. When you play physical, you draw fouls. Think Dan Akin, he plays physical, he draws fouls. Not as many other players on the Aggies do that. But yeah, Nevada ranks 27th in free throw attempts per game, and they're 7th in free throw percentage. They shoot almost 80% as a team.
Wow.
There aren't too many Aggies that themselves shoot 80% from the field. I'm not sure if there is one aside from Stephen Ashworth. See, how many Aggies shoot? Actually, there's like 5 of them. So Taylor Funk, RJ Adlerock, Stephen Ashworth, Max Shulga, and Z Hamoda all shoot 80%, but they're not always the ones. So Utah State shoots 73% as a team, but they're 97th. They're not necessarily bad, but Nevada will, they'll make you pay if you send them to the free throw line, and they do it a lot.
A couple texts here coming in, 435-339-0321 if you want to chime in. 9315 says, I think we are still unhappy with our outcome at Boise, so Wyoming and Nevada get the brunt of it. I hope that's the case. I hope that Boise game still stings, and I hope it stings for a while. Because as you noted earlier this week, USU rebounds in a pretty significant way after a loss. But what kind of carryover does that still have for USU? Did they get it all out of their system on Tuesday, or is there some carryover, or Monday, or is there still some carryover here where they have a chance to go on the road and still use that frustration out on Nevada?
Yeah, I'd hope so. And I think that you try and translate some of that in the form of saying, hey, look, you won at home, but that doesn't mean anything. The problem was we went on the road to a good team and got our butts handed to us. You need to prove this here. Because Utah State's had a game where they lost to Weber State. They put a beat down on Seattle. They came out the next game, lost to SMU. So they need to, Odo needs to be in their ear about, hey, look, you lost here. Okay, you bounced back against a not very good Wyoming team. You need to actually prove, people aren't going to be very impressed if you lose to Boise State, beat the tar out of Wyoming, and then go out and lose to Nevada again.
True.
That'll end up confirming a lot of what the Boise State game was. Say, okay, maybe you're not for real, because you're losing against the good teams. You beat Fresno State, you beat Air Force, you beat Wyoming. Okay, that's toward the bottom of the conference, but you lost against the good teams. And so hopefully Utah State is able to kind of channel that and say, all right, we're going to have another great game. And, keep that focus they had against Wyoming, take it on the road, and maybe beat the tar out of Nevada again.
Yeah, I totally agree. This is the game where this is the statement game, the bounce back game. That should be the mentality that tomorrow night's game is the bounce back game from what happened in Boise. Too many players were injured for Wyoming, not a full roster. It's not the same. It shouldn't be viewed as the same. What you do at Nevada, that should be viewed as your I guess you want to call it a bounce back, but your statement game in return. Like, who are you really?
Yeah, and it's another prove it game. These are the games that are going to be looked at on the resume. It's like, here's your quad one games. Did you beat Nevada on the road? You had a chance to do it. Did you beat them? If the answer, you lost to Wyoming, you lost that chance. If you lose to Nevada again, if you go to 0-2 in quad one games, sure, you're like 11-0 in quad two, or quad two and quad three combined, but if you can't get these good wins, people are going to see you as a bit of an overrated team where you beat up on the mediocre teams, mediocre maybe good teams, but you can't beat any of the great teams.
2361, high school boys basketball tonight?
Yes.
Yes, region play getting underway.
We will talk about that.
Yes, so stay tuned, 2361. We will go through the schedule, who's playing where, and how you can follow along. 5634. This text has nothing to do with Utah State basketball.
Then we're not going to talk about it. Moving on.
But does anyone know why Utah State is taking such a big blow on the defensive side with so many starters transferring from the team? Just saw Patrick Joyner is in the portal. Now, this is reference to football, where that defensive front, almost in its entirety, from starters to depth rotation guys, are entering the portal and leaving. They're leaving en masse.
Yeah, there's rumors, but nothing that anyone can confirm. It's just speculation. With this many leaving, that's a lot of smoke.
A lot of smoke.
So it makes you worry.
After the bowl game, Coach Anderson was praising the depth and the strength of his defensive front and how that was going to help the team moving forward, and they could build off of that, and they were going to rely on them. Now those guys are gone.
Yeah, that was going to be their huge strength, was to get everyone on the front seven back. Now basically nobody.
Halle.
Yeah.
Halle hasn't left yet.
Him, a couple of linebackers. The linebacker crew looks like it'll be all right. They're sticking around.
With that defensive line.
MJ Tufisi, I think, put out a tweet saying he is staying, which now has to be a thing. You have to tweet that you're staying or put on social media, because Ike Larson did it too.
Yeah.
He had put out a social post saying, "I'm staying, by the way. I'm not going anywhere."
Just to put the speculation to bed.
Yeah, and Tafisi does the same thing. It's like maybe just start asking athletes, "Can you put out something saying you are staying, just so we can know?"
We just need to know one way or the other, so we can move on with our lives. But yes, 5634, it is a major concern, and there is a lot of smoke. And you have Grishik, who's gone to Cincinnati.
I don't think Vaughn's
hasn't decided yet. He shared something today, or was it last night, saying that he's taking his time, but he's exploring options. Joiners in the portal. Who else? There's another one that
I think Tavian Coleman was another.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's see how many.
You've got your transfer tracker.
I think there's 6 defensive linemen now that have entered the portal,
Oh my gosh,
with Joyner being the 6th one.
it's bad. That is bad.
Yeah, especially when they're all 4 of those are rotation guys.
Guys who saw minutes and snaps.
Yeah, Addison Trupp and Orion Peoples they played a combined 13 snaps, but the other 4 guys are that was your rotation on the defensive line, minus Halle. Everyone other than Halle is leaving.
All right, we got to take a break here on the Full Court Press. We'll get into what high school schedule looks like tonight. Utah Jazz. Lauri Markkanen, is he moving up any closer to getting an all-star bid? As all-star voting, the second round for the public voting was released today. And some more trade rumors that involve the Utah Jazz. We'll discuss that coming up on the Full Court Press.
Let's talk about getting your car registered. What a pain. With registration and emissions, it takes hours. Valvoline Instant Oil Change in Logan, across from Angie's, will take that pain away. Stop in to get your oil changed and have the emissions test done. Then re-register your car. It's that easy, all in one stop. The best thing, you can stay in your car while their trained pros service your vehicle. Valvoline Instant Oil Change, 695 North Main. Open 7 days a week.
Has inflation got you down? This is Zach with HSA Depot. Did you know you can save money by using your pre-tax income to buy qualifying medical supplies? Health savings and flex spending accounts can be used for more than just doctor visits and prescriptions. HSA Depot helps you conquer your health care by providing HSA and FSA eligible products, taking the guesswork out of the process. Come to HSA Depot next to Sally Beauty and see how much you can save. HSA Depot, 5-star review.
It's cold outside, but you can keep warm inside with a quality-built, super-efficient York furnace. Count on a furnace from York because it's backed by the strongest warranties available. It's just another way we install confidence. Call Advanced Heating and Air Conditioning, your local York dealer at 752-7272. Online at advancedheating-ac.com. York, install confidence.
We're not comfortable until you are. Advanced Heating and Air.
Cache Valley Ear, Nose, and Throat is locally owned and operated inside the beautiful new Three Peaks Medical Plaza in North Logan. Expect the most cutting-edge techniques, qualified doctors, and friendly staff to ensure the highest quality patient care. The ENT providers have extensive training to properly treat ear, nose, and throat conditions for adults and children. Cache Valley Ear, Nose, and Throat serves all of northern Utah and southern Idaho, accepting most insurance products including SelectMed. Go to CacheValleyENT.com for appointments and details. Cache Valley Ear, Nose, and Throat, located in North Logan and Providence.
The Aggies, the Jazz, the high schools, the Full Court Press on Sports Talk Radio, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM. The Fan.
Welcome back to Full Court Press. Eric France and Jason Walker. Love to get the text from you, 435-339-0321. One of the questions that I got asked at the career day today at the local one of the local elementary schools was, "Do you have fun at your job?" I said, "Yes, I'm lucky to be in a job where we do have a lot of fun." And part of that fun is just interacting with you and having you interact with us. So really love to get the texts that come through, the questions, the comments, the feedback. Appreciate it. 435-339-0321. We have Region 11 basketball starting up tonight. So we've had the non-region schedule going on for a couple of months, and now we get into region play. And it's a little bit unique in the way that it's starting. Normally, boys basketball is always on a Monday, Wednesday schedule, and the girls are on a Tuesday, Thursday. But this year, the boys will start region play on Thursday, and the girls will start region play on Friday. And so it'll be kind of a alternating Thursday, Tuesday, Thursday thing for the boys for a little bit here, and it'll be Friday, Wednesday, Friday for the girls. When they play everybody, then they'll take a little break, and then it'll flip back the other way what it was with schedules, and they'll go through the rest of the schedule, playing everybody again. But tonight for Region 11 for the boys, Skyview is hosting Bear River tonight. Green Canyon is hosting Ridgeline, and Mountain Crest hosting Logan. And interesting matchups here across the board for Region 11. And if you had to pick one game to go to, it's pretty tough, but I think I'd probably say the Skyview Bear River game, just considering where both of those teams are in the RPI standings right now.
Yeah, see, for me, there's two really interesting matchups in this, and I think the Bear River Skyview one does kind of edge out the other one, where this is really a much bigger game for Bear River, because this is a team, it's a surprise team. They're, fourth or fifth? I think they're fifth in the RPI. I think Ridgeline's fourth. They're the team that's surprised. They're trying to prove that they actually belong. Their 9-3 record is, actually a real thing, and that they really do belong. And so it being on the road at Skyview, that's an incredibly tough ask for them to actually win this game. But if they're competitive in this game and they really just go toe-to-toe with Skyview, that means Bear River's real, and they have to be taken seriously in this region. If it ends up just being a Skyview blowout, then obviously that hurts the pride of Bear River a lot, and then ends up showing that maybe Skyview is exactly who we thought they were, the clear favorites and obvious favorites to win the region.
That game will be heard here on 106.9 The Fan and 1390 AM. Hurricane John Newbold will be on the call. For folks who follow Bear River, you can hear it on 104.9 The Ranch in Box Elder County. But for both, you can watch on CashValleyDaily.com. So there will be an independent broadcast for both of those teams. This is really, whenever Bear River's involved in region play, it's a little bit different because they have a different audience in Box Elder County. And so they will be at the game tonight. Their broadcast crew will be there, and John will be there for the representing Skyview. So we'll have two different ways to watch this game. One with a Skyview-leaning broadcast and one with a Bear River-leaning broadcast. But then when we get to the Green Canyon versus Ridgeline, there's our Green Canyon play-by-play team will cover duties for both squads. But it'll be simulcast on both 100.9 Light FM and 104.5 The Ranch in Cache County. Cade Forrest and Terrell Baldwin on the call for that one. And this is one that could be interesting where this Green Canyon team, really competitive game against Bonneville, going to lose it in the last second. And then they played well against Judge Memorial. This is a team that appears to be pretty good, pretty talented. They've been competitive, but they've struggled to get the wins. But Ridgeline, a team that doesn't really seem to rebuild very often. They just reload, and they're still a very competitive team and a dominant team. But their last game was January 4th. So this Green Canyon squad maybe a little bit more fresh and a little bit more in tune with where they want to be, and they're coming into this one coming off of a win.
Yeah, this one, Ridgeline Green Canyon, it's probably the least interesting because, 9-2, 3-8, but still, for some reasons you mentioned Green Canyon, maybe a bit more of a rhythm. They do have Jared Anderson, who just won Player of the Week. So when you got a talented kid, you're playing at home, you've always got a chance. Sometimes you throw those records out the window, and you got to play basketball. And so there's always a chance Green Canyon wins. Probably still give the edge to Ridgeline just because they are a really good team and they have a really good player of their own in Luke Sorensen.
Mm-hmm.
So you could see this end up being a double-digit margin, but you don't ever count out a team like Green Canyon.
But then the other game that really is going to be fun to pay attention to tonight, that's Logan at Mountain Crest. These are two teams that are kind of evenly placed, evenly matched, not far from each other in the RPI, kind of similar records. But this is a game that'll be on 107.7 KLZX and on KVNU, 102.1 FM, 610 AM. It's actually going to be Clint Payne and John Olson on the call and covering the duties for both schools. But this could be an interesting matchup, Jason, just where these are two teams trying to break through kind of middle of the pack here, trying to improve upon where they've been so far in the non-region schedule.
Yeah, I think this game is incredibly interesting to me. Probably, for me, obviously being the Logan broadcaster, this game has a little bit more interest to me. I've been a little closer with Logan, but I think you pointed out, you spelled out pretty fairly why this game is really interesting, where these are two teams that have had a bit of a surprise to them. Logan a bit more in Mountain Crest. Mountain Crest at 6-6. Logan at 8-5. Logan started out 6-1, then they played a bit of a tougher schedule and didn't really come out of that unscathed. They're now 8-5 after starting 6-1. Mountain Crest has had some tough tests too and sort of passed them. But these are teams, as you said, are middle of the pack. They're trying to prove that they belong, at least in the conversation, to be at the top of region. And, Bear River has that too, but they get a chance to go against Skyview, whereas Logan and Mountain Crest, they're fighting each other for the chance to be, at the back end of that top group. So whoever wins this gains an advantage, partially in confidence. Okay, we're not in the bottom half of the region. We can be toward the top half. They'll gain momentum. And Logan, they'll take this game and they'll go to Skyview next. So if they beat Mountain Crest, at Mountain Crest, they come home and face Skyview. That's a big momentum push, and maybe they can sneak one out, against Skyview next and build some real momentum going into the rest of region play.
So another reminder, quick rundown of who's playing where, how you can follow along. That Logan Mountain Crest game will be played in Hiram. You can hear it a couple different places, 107.7 KLZX, it's translator. You can also hear it on KVNU, 102.1 FM, 102.5 FM, as well as 610 AM, along with its streaming platform and mobile app. But we'll also have the video available on CashValleyDaily.com of that game. It'll be Clint Payne and John Olson on the call. Green Canyon hosting Ridgeline tonight. Light FM, 100.9. It'll also be on 104.5 The Ranch. And then also video streaming on CashValleyDaily.com. Cade Forrest and Terrell Baldwin on the call for that game. And then Skyview here on The Fan, hosting Bear River. Hurricane John Newbold on the call there. And 106.9 FM, 1390 AM, video streaming on Cache Valley Daily. And then Bear River, they'll have their own version of this game, their own broadcast and coverage of this game tonight, as they'll be at Skyview. That'll be Trent Forrest and Josh Tyre on the call, 104.9 The Ranch in Box Elder County, and then also streaming on CashValleyDaily.com. So,
isn't Trent Carter?
Trent Carter, sorry. Did I say Trent Forrest?
Yeah, you did. I was like, hold on.
I've merged Cade and Trent into one.
They're one super broadcaster now. They can be in two places at once.
Trent Carter, thank you, and Josh Tyre for Bear River. And so that game will be at Skyview, multiple places to follow along, CashValleyDaily.com to watch those, or just to go find all these broadcasts and to check in on one while you're at another. You can always do that as well. Another timeout here in the Full Court Press. When we come back, what's going on in the NBA with Utah Jazz? Lauri Markkanen, is he getting any more votes as the All-Star votes are being tabulated and the second round released today? Update on that and any trade rumors involving the Jazz. We'll discuss those coming up next here on the Full Court Press.
Welcome to the new year and happy winter driving. As the weather outside gets colder, it's more important than ever to have a reliable vehicle to get you around safely. That's where Murdoch Hyundai comes in with the Drive at Home sales event. Right now, receive 2.9% for 5 years on the 2023 Tucson or Santa Fe. And every new Hyundai comes with America's best warranty, a 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain limited warranty and owner's assurance. When you walk through our doors, you feel like family. At Murdoch Hyundai in Logan, Lynn, and Murray, or online at murdochhyundai.com.
Call 866-628-3065 or see dealer for complete details. Offer expires 1/31/23.
As a small business, achieving your financial goals and ambitions can be a steep and rocky mountain climb. This is Lance Zollinger, president at Cache Valley Bank. To conquer the mountain and achieve your goals, it takes planning, hard work, and discipline. At Cache Valley Bank, we have the resources, expertise, and flexibility to help you scale your way to success. Give us a call. Let's work together and climb the mountains that await. Cache Valley Bank, member FDIC.
Nothing compares to the warmth and feel that a wood stove provides. The two-time Best of Northern Utah winning team says there's never been a better time to replace your old, inefficient wood stove and install a new, energy-efficient, EPA-certified Vermont casting wood product in your home. The U.S. government is offering federal tax credits of 26% on your wood stove install. For Vermont casting units, that includes stoves, venting, and labor. Call or email Advanced Fireplace and Stove for a free in-home estimate. Call 435-752-7272 or go to advancedfireplaceandstove.com.
Alpine Home Medical has been around for over 25 years. Can you believe that? Hi, I'm Jay Broadbent. What keeps us coming to work every day? We're passionate about caring for you. From home and bathroom safety to transportation, mobility, recovery, oxygen, sleep, and more, come into any of our 10 locations today and let us take care of you.
Alpine Home Medical, we bring wellness home.
Visit us at alpinehomemedical.com.
Following the local teams, it's the Full Court Press with Eric Franson and Jason Walker.
Welcome back to Full Court Press. Eric Franson, Jason Walker. If you want to chime in, we'd love to hear from you too. 435-339-0321. Today, the NBA released its second fan returns for NBA All-Star voting, and Lauri Markkanen making some moves. He didn't the order didn't change, but he has gained on Paul George. He was trailing Paul George in the first returns, and he had a little less than half of votes of Paul George, but he's made up some ground.
Yeah, so he had about 49% of the number of votes. Paul, like I said, a little less than half. Now he's at about 2/3. So he's made up, in terms of percentage of votes, he's made up a bit of that gap. Of course, he's still 400,000-ish votes behind Paul George. I don't expect he'll surpass Paul George. But maybe if he does, he's still 6th, and that's 3 spots out of starting.
Yeah. So front court right now for the NBA would be LeBron James, Nikola Jokic, Anthony Davis. Zion Williamson would be coming off the bench. Andrew Wiggins, Paul George, and then Lauri Markkanen.
Yeah.
So I think the odds of Lauri making an All-Star game are pretty high, because they'll name the starters, which is a blend of fan votes. Of course, that accounts for about 50% of the vote. NBA players and media panel, that accounts for 25% each. But after the starters are announced, then the coaches get to decide who the reserves are, and Lauri Markkanen deserves to make it on his own merits, but with the game being in Utah, that is also going to help.
Yeah, and if you look at, let's see if the coaches are deciding, because, LeBron, Jokic, and Davis, they're clearly far and away above Markkanen. They very much deserve, I think the fans have got it pretty much spot on in terms of who the starters are. And that's usually the case. The starters are usually who they should be. With the
I think we can make a debate about Anthony Davis over Zion, but
yeah, well, Anthony Davis had a pretty good year himself. So
yeah, when Anthony was playing, he was having 27 points a game. He was very solid.
The exception of Andrew Wiggins being here, that's a joke. But, after that, like, you'd probably think the coaches are going to pick Paul George and Zion Williamson over Markkanen. But after that, at least when you're looking at who's on the voting list, like, all right, Kawhi Leonard, I don't feel like he's been healthy enough to really warrant, all-star consideration. But, outside of the top 5 where, LeBron, Jokic, Davis, Williamson, and Paul George, Markkanen is probably one of the best choices. You do have potentially a legacy vote like Draymond Green, Kawhi Leonard, and maybe some others, but it's like Markkanen could fit in there as, if you're looking at a roster that's like half front court, half, back court guys, 15, players, Markkanen could slide in the back end there, or at the very least end up as a reserve. If, one or more, like Davis may end up playing, some of these guys may not playing, so Markkanen has a pretty good shot at making it, either as one of the last guys on there or as a reserve or as a injury fill-in. So I like his chances right now.
Yeah, and you make a good point. There are guys who may get named, but then because of injuries, they won't show. And so I think there's a very strong likelihood that Lauri Markkanen will be there, whether he's initially named as a reserve from the coaches or if he's there as an injury reserve or fill-in guy, because a number of these guys right now are hurt. Kevin Durant, he's the leading vote getter in the Eastern Conference, and he's going to be out for about a month. So there's question about whether he'd even be available for the All-Star game.
Yeah, because it's like early to mid-February, isn't it?
Yeah.
So yeah, he probably wouldn't play. So he'd probably end up. One of the weird things about this is that Jason Tatum is 3rd in the front court in the East and 4th on the guards in the East. Unless Jaylen Brown. Never mind, I'm an idiot.
Jason Tatum yeah, that's interesting because in the first returns, Jason Tatum was 4th. And he's moved up to now he's 3rd. He surpassed Joel Embiid.
Yeah, Joel
Narrow
Embiid not
margin
doing as well. Yeah, they might bounce back and forth for a little bit.
The rookie Paolo Banchero from Orlando, he's 8th, and the Orlando Magic coming to Utah tomorrow to take on the Jazz.
Yeah, I'll be at that game. Finally, it's me going to a game and not you.
Not me. That's right. That's right. Let's take another quick timeout because there are some rumors swirling about the Utah Jazz, as is not totally unexpected, but there's been a couple different rounds of rumor mills surrounding different players of the Jazz. And we'll just get into the latest rumor that's out there, and if that really does make sense or not for the Jazz to entertain. 435-339-0321 here on the Full Court Press. Love to hear from you.
They say diamonds are a girl's best friend, particularly when she's thinking of marriage. When it comes to this important decision, visit S. Needham Jewelers in historic downtown Logan. We have been the part of thousands of happy engagements. You'll enjoy our vast selection of beautiful and unique engagement rings. You'll also enjoy our relaxed and elegant environment. You'll not be hurried and you'll feel no pressure as you have fun looking for the perfect ring. Where Utah gets engaged. S. Needham Jewelers, middle of the block, at the sign of the clock.
Imagine your wedding day. Elegant, simple, yet stunning, stress-free. It's your day. It's all about you. Whether you're looking for small and simple or have a grander idea, the Riverwoods Conference Center will accommodate your every need. Choose the inside ballroom elegance or outside along the natural decor of the beautiful Logan River. A Riverwoods event planner will work personally with you to make sure your event is exactly how you've envisioned it. The Riverwoods Conference Center, where your happily ever after begins. Google Riverwoods Conference Center or call 750-5151.
We're heading into some crazy weather this winter, which means power outages. Tyler and his team at Golden Spike Electric can install a Generac automatic standby generator for your home so you can avoid issues when the power goes out. If you have one already, Golden Spike Electric can maintain your Generac automatic standby generator for you. Find them online at gsegenerators.com or call 435-257-3016. Golden Spike Electric and Generac automatic standby generators. Power you can count on.
It's never too late or too cold to get rid of that old vehicle. Now is the time to earn extra cash by calling DD Auto and Salvage. Let them pay you for that junk vehicle. DD Auto and Salvage makes it so easy and fast to get rid of your junker vehicles by paying you the most money possible. Pickup is available. If you have metal, DD Auto and Salvage in Logan wants to pay you today. Call 787-1204. That's 787-1204 today. See store for details.
The Doug Gottlieb Show.
Is there a doctor here?
Listen.
Here's the part about the Rams that no one's talking about. Right, the Rams lose Cooper Kupp probably for the season. And it's like, oh, the Rams, F them draft picks, whatever. Like, that's great. Everybody else fills out the rest of the roster with draft picks. They don't have the draft picks. And the draft picks you do have, you got to hit.
The Doug Gottlieb Show.
Weekday afternoons from 1 to 4 on Sports Talk Radio, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM. The Fan. The Aggies are #1 here. The Full Court Press. Connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, and online at 1069thefan.com.
Welcome back to Full Court Press. Eric Franson, Jason Walker. Utah Jazz, they're off tonight. They'll be back at it tomorrow. And we'll have full play-by-play. We're part of the Utah Jazz radio network. Tonight it's high school hoops. Skyview Bobcats will be here on the station. Pregame for John Newbold, usually around 6:50, I think is when he starts it.
Yeah, we've scheduled our streams all for 6:50. So that's in theory, they will all begin at that time. So and we've been testing it, so these things actually should work this time.
Yeah, in about a little over an hour, about an hour from now. But Utah Jazz certainly could be a team that is heavily involved. They may be in a position to virtually control the trade market. I mean, they really kind of controlled the off-season trade market.
They murdered the trade market.
And they are in a position to control it again at the mid-season trade deadline coming up here soon, because the way this team has developed and reinvigorated or reinvented some of these young players with teams looking for instant help. Utah has a lot of guys who could be in the mix there. And will the Jazz be a team that's aggressive on the market to try to fill in a gap to still be relevant in the playoff picture themselves?
Yeah, the Jazz took like half the pieces they got as like salary filler and turned them into legitimate trade pieces, which has to be one of the greatest turnarounds, for this team. The way the front office has done this, where Malik Beasley is his own independent, valuable asset. Jared Vanderbilt is desirable among a lot of teams. So. Right now, the latest rumor is that, it's an update to an old rumor, and that is around Atlanta Hawks forward John Collins. The rumor, I think it was Real GM who put it out. So there's rumors that the Jazz could send Malik Beasley and Jared Vanderbilt and receive John Collins and a first-round pick, which I have expressed my doubt of wanting to trade for John Collins for a couple reasons, but part of that was because I thought they'd have to send a first-round pick to get Collins back. If this is the setup, sign me up. Because I still do have reservations of, okay, if this works out, then John Collins has to, his contract now doesn't really bother me, because what else are you doing with that money? But it's in the future of, okay, is John Collins your second highest paid player on the team? I don't think he'd be worth that. Then you also have Lauri Markkanen, who you think you're going to have to pay a lot. And that could clog it up where you still need your alpha player, but is your books being clogged up by decent and good players like Collins and Markkanen? And so that's still kind of a worry, but it's much less of a worry now that, okay, if you can get a first and Collins and maybe revitalize him, sign me up. I'm all over that. We can deal with some of those other problems later, but this is not as much as you can ask for. I don't think Atlanta takes this. We heard the rumor that they were wanting a Rudy Gobert, Donovan Mitchell-esque package in returns for Collins, but I think everyone called their bluff on that.
Yeah, that ain't happening.
So Maybe we can get Collins, maybe have him do a Markkanen-esque turnaround or a Beasley. Like half the players the Jazz have brought in, they've revitalized. So it seems to be a trend right now where the system's working. They're able to, flip players and raise their value. If they can do that to Collins, I mean, you don't even have to trade him. You just keep him, and then, you got another nice young piece, and use your draft assets, try and get a top guy in the draft this year, and then suddenly maybe if that guy turns out to be that alpha potential top 5 player, then suddenly you've got another championship window.
Atlanta currently 9th in the Eastern Conference standings, record of 19-22. So they have a losing record. There's some significant discord there between some of the players and the coaches. So they may be interested in making some moves to try to repair things. But it could also mean that it doesn't resolve any issues and they miss the playoffs, in which case that first-round draft pick becomes really nice.
Yeah, that'd be the ideals, like what happened with the Timberwolves. You thought that you were solving their problems, and it turns out you didn't, and they're still terrible. So maybe that would work with Atlanta. So if you can make away like a bandit with getting a better John Collins than he is right now, and a first-round pick, if it's maybe this year's, because I think Atlanta has their first-round pick from this year. If they sent it over, then that'd be another robbery for the Jazz, potentially. So we'll see.
3486. Sorry, I didn't see this earlier when we were talking about fan voting for the NBA All-Star Game. The fact that Draymond Green, Kevin Looney, and Austin Reeves are even on the list just proves a fan vote should not matter.
Yeah, the fan vote has been a joke. It's stupid. But in the end, there's never really a good way to select all-stars.
Unless you make it a true 1/3 fans, 1/3 players, 1/3 media. Would that really matter?
Okay, but then still 66% of the vote is done by people who vote like idiots. Because while I have more respect for the players' knowledge, they still vote like idiots. Regardless of their knowledge of the game, they vote like they're idiots. Sometimes worse than the fans.
All right, we're running out of time, and we need to get to our Thursday feature. It's Pick 6.
I bet you $20 I can get you gambling before the end of the day.
No way. It's the Full Court Press Pick 6.
Ever since March Madness ended, I am so bored.
6 things we think will happen this weekend.
I don't know how the whole betting thing started, but it's fun.
All right, Pick 6, the 6 things we think will happen this weekend. I won last week, so I'm going to go first, actually, this time.
All right.
Okay, Danak and rebounds at Nevada. Setting the line at 9.5.
I'm going to take the under.
I'm going to take the over. Okay, Malik Beasley made 3-pointers in the 2 games this weekend. So that would include a game against Orlando and Philadelphia. I'm setting the line at 8.5.
Made threes.
Made threes in over 2 games.
I'll take the under.
I'm going to take the over. And speaking of made threes, combined 3-pointers made by Max Shulga, Sean Bairstow, and Stephen Ashworth at Nevada Friday night, 7.5.
That's a good line. I'm going to take the over.
I'm going to take the under.
All right. It's my first one. Combined points from Lauri Markkanen and Paolo Banchero on Friday. The Jazz and the Magic play. So combined points from the Jazz star and Orlando's young star. Over under 45.5.
Ooh. I'm going to take the over.
I'm going to take the over as well.
Okay.
Stephen Ashworth points versus Nevada. As I mentioned, he's had back-to-back single-digit points games for the first time this year. I'll set the over-under at 10.5.
I'm going to take the over.
Take the over, too. I was trying to bait you into taking the under. All right, here's an interesting one. So BYU tonight, BYU plays number 8 Gonzaga, and the University of Utah plays number 7 UCLA. So a couple of top 10 matchups from some teams down south. Combined margin of defeat for the Cougars and Utes.
Okay.
Over under 18.5. If you pick the under, that means they were closer to winning. So we'll add the number they lost by. Now, if one of them wins, that's a negative, and it, will lower it even more. So if you take the under, it means they were closer to winning. If you take the over, it means they lost by more.
I'm gonna take the under.
That's what I was gonna take. You know what? I'm gonna take the over just out of I don't want to pick the exact same on every single one.
All right, and so for the tiebreaker, USU is at Nevada. Nevada right now favored by 1.5. So, well, let's just do this. Let's do score. You pick the score of Utah State at Nevada.
Gonna say Nevada 74, Utah State 71.
Okay, Nevada over USU. I've already said it earlier, and I'm going to stand by it. USU 75 and Nevada 71. So I mean, we're close. We're just flipping the results on the teams. So we'll reveal the results on Monday. See how well we did in trying to guess what would happen this weekend. Look, it's going to be a big night for Region 11 basketball. Stay tuned on our family of radio stations. You can always go to CashValleyDaily.com to find the video streams there and follow along either in person or check in on everybody else.
And the Ad Council present the story of Cynthia and Ed.
My mother was always very active and independent, and she was familiar with her neighborhood. But one day, out of the blue, she stopped at the stop sign for much longer than usual. And she didn't know